Okay, 26 to find p, that little squiggly line q, by the equation, it's equal to p squared q cubed minus 3q. Then 2 squiggly thingy 3 would be equal to what? So what is that telling us to do?
I mean, 2 and p are the same, and 3 and q are the same.
Okay, it's telling us to plug in 2 everywhere we see a p, and it's telling us to plug in 3 everywhere we see a q. So we're going to go 2 squared.
4.
It's just being defined as that function. So it's what it could be a heart, like it can be any symbol it wants to be. So 2 squared times 3 cubed minus 3 times 3. So what is 2 squared?
4.
What's 3 cubed?
Minus 9.
Okay, 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 27?
108.
Is it?
Yes.
So 108 minus 9 is 99?
Good job, Cameron.
Thanks, Will.
Any questions on 26? And by the way, at this point right here, couldn't you have just plugged it in your calculator?
Yeah.
So practice on your calculator, make sure you get 99. If you're not getting 99, then you're plugging it in wrong. On that calculator, do you know how to get it to the third power?
Yeah. Up 3. That's up 3.
Well, no, you got to do the caret. You got to do the caret, so you need to find the caret.
Caret 3.
Is this testing me almost with this?
Yes. Okay, number 27. If 7x plus 4 equals negative 19 plus 5x, then 2x minus 14 equals what? What do you do with that?
Well, I got this.
Why don't you take the first part and solve it for x, and then whatever you get, plug it into the second part. Okay?
Too much more.
I have a question, Miss Hall. What is this?
Wait, 2x is equal to negative 23.
It gets light and charges it.
X equals 11.5.
Okay, so I'm going to subtract 5x from both sides. So I get 2x plus 4 equals negative 19. Guys, you're going to have to stop so we can get through this.
Is it 9?
Okay? Then we're going to subtract 4 from both sides.
23, negative 23.
So I get 2x equals negative 23.
Yeah,
Divide both sides by 2. So x is equal to, what would that be?
11.5.
Okay? So then we take the other equation, which is 2x minus 14. And instead of x, we're going to put negative 11 and a half. So we're back to the negative 23, aren't we? So negative 23 minus 14 would be negative 37. Okay, which of the following best describes the circled part of the statement? So they're going to give you answer choices, obviously. And one of them's going to say expression, and that's what we want. This is the expression part. Once you include the equals 40, that's called the equation. But just the part that's circled is the expression. I don't remember.
Answer.
Might say coefficient, and if it said coefficient, then we would only want 7 to be circled. It might say constant, and then we'd only want the plus 9 to be circled. But we're looking for expression. The part that's circled is the expression. Okay, number 29, solve for x.
Review.
5x minus 10 equals 2 minus 2x plus 10 times x minus 3. So we want to distribute the 10 first.
10x minus 30.
So I have 5x minus 10 equals 2 minus 2x plus 10x minus 30. And then you want to combine like terms. And so we're going to put the 10x and the minus 2x together. And we're going to put the positive 2 and the negative 30 together. So I have 5x minus 10 equals 8x minus 28. Is that right?
Yep.
Now what?
So, add 10 or 28.
I personally would subtract 5x from both sides because I try to deal with the x's first and keep them positive, personally. But yes, there's lots of things you can do, and in any order. So we have negative 10 equals 3x minus 28. Then we want to add 28 to both sides.
18. X equals 6.
So 18 equals 3x. Then we want to divide both sides by 3. So 6 equals x. Any questions on that one?
Nope.
Okay, number 30, solve for r. A equals p plus prt. What are we going to do? students typically in algebra do not like these questions because you don't get a final number answer. You get another equation answer. Okay, can I just minus p?
No.
Don't we need to get everything away from r, so don't we need to factor out a p? You want to minus a p first?
It's going to be a minus p.
Because I was feeling like we should do a equals p times 1 plus rt. Would that not work?
No. What? No. No. I don't even know how you got that.
Yeah, that's
Can't you take p out of both of these?
no. You added a 1 super unnecessary. I don't like that.
So then you have like a over p equals 1 plus rt. Let's see if we can
Just
get
do
to the
A
same
minus
place.
P over RT. I mean, over T.
Yes, ma'am.
This is impossible.
So let's keep going your way. So we would have a minus p equals prt. And then you would divide by pt.
Or PT, physical therapy. But then, can't you cancel out the p's?
Okay, good question. Can you cancel out the p's?
I don't think so, right?
You cannot.
Hey, that looks fine.
See?
What? Good job, Michael.
Okay, so when you actually look at the real test, it's going to look like this. No ones. No ones. So ignore my factor method that I like.
Yeah.
So is everybody okay with the second way we talked through? Because that's going to be what the answer looks like. We good?
Do you think we're going to get on this test?
I
X squared
hope
minus
you get
3x
100.
times, minus 10.
I'm glad I did that actually because now I can rework it the correct way for you.
I got this. I got this.
No, I'm back on 30 because I erased it.
Minus 1.
So the first thing we did, what y'all tell me to do? Subtract p. So we had a minus p equals prt. And then all we did was divide by p and t. And so this was the real answer. Blake, is that better? Is that okay? That's all you needed.
The next one is 5x minus 1. No, plus 1. Then x minus 2.
Can I do my little trick?
Yep.
So we have x squared minus 3x minus 10. And what multiplies to 10 that adds to negative 3?
5 and 2, negative 5, negative 5.
Negative 5, x plus 2, divide.
But then you have to bring the 5 back.
So x minus 1 and 5x plus 2.
So that's going to become 1 over 1, which is x minus 1. And then that's going to bring the 5 over there, which is 5x minus 2. Sorry, plus 2, right?
Yep.
So either one of those is a factor. So one of your answer choices might be x minus 1. Another answer choice possibly could be 5x plus 2. Those would be the only ones that work.
Interesting. Next one. Scientific notation. We didn't learn this. Nope. Omit.
Get out your calculator. Okay, when you multiply this on your calculator, you get 2.1 times 10 to the 10th power. It does give you in that format. If we were to do this on our graphing calculator instead,
So I didn't get that answer.
you got to do the parentheses just like it is and everything.
Oh, I put the exponents outside.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, if we use the regular calculator, it's going to give us the decimal answers, I believe. Let's check it out and see. Okay, so it gives you, actually it's in engineering mode, if you will. So do you see that that's still 2.1 times 10 to the 10th power. Like, I hope we're familiar with that because our p-values are in that notation a lot. But it's going to look like the answer I have written in blue. It's not going to be like a decimal answer. Okay, number 33, we need to factor 8a squared minus 17a plus 2.
Times 8.
Okay, so we're going to multiply the 8 to the end. So we have a squared minus 17a plus 16. So what multiplies to positive 16 that adds to negative 17? 16 and 1, I heard. Wouldn't they both be negative? And then you bring the 8 back. 16 over 8 is 2. So we have a minus 2, and then we take the 8 to the front of the a. So we have 8a minus 1. And those are the two factors.
It doesn't divide equally. Take it.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Put it back to the front. Would a minus point, whatever that is, 0.16. Why not?
Because you can't, like, if you left it as a decimal, let's say, then you would still have a times a is not going to give you 8a squared. Like, you have to have the 1a times the 8a, like if you FOILed it back, to get the 8a squared.
So always on the second one you put the number in the front?
It could be both of them.
Just guess.
It could be both of them. Because if this was like 16 over 7, then we would call that 7a minus 16.
Omit.
Number 34, find the possible middle term to make this polynomial factorable.
5, 4, 9.
And it says a possible middle term, so that means there's more than one. So 1 and 20.
How do you find this?
1 and 20 could give you 21, right?
21.
Okay, so 21's a possibility in the middle. But hold on, couldn't it also be -1 and -20? Why not? Because -1 times -20 would give you positive. So then that would give me -21 in the middle. And I should be putting x's on those.
Oh, you're sorry.
You see what I'm saying?
Plus or minus.
It could be x, hold on, it could be x plus 20 times x plus 1, and that would give me 21 in the middle. Or it could be x minus 20 and x minus 21, and that would, not 21, guys, I'm sorry. Hold on. If you FOILed this, wouldn't you have x squared on the beginning and plus 20 on the end?
Oh,
And so it could be -21x in the middle. Okay.
good one.
Not necessarily, because it could be, oh, I see it now. My bad. Not a possibility. I see what he's saying. Because he's pointing out that they did give us a plus. I was ignoring that. Okay, sorry about that.
Good job.
Okay, so this would be 21x in the middle. You could add a negative, but, and we could also do, what, 2 and 10? Couldn't I do x plus 2 and x plus 10? And so in the middle would be 12x. So I have 21x as a possibility, 12x as a possibility. Couldn't I do 4 and 5? So x plus 4, x plus 5, what would that give me in the middle? 9x?
What's the right answer?
You'll find out. There's possible answers. One of the answer choices listed will be right. Are there any others that we could do?
No.
No.
It's not. Next.
Okay, number 35. Do y'all know for exponents that division means subtraction and multiplication means add? So we really have x squared minus 2, y 6 minus 2, z is 3 minus 0 since there's not one on the bottom. So that's going to give us 2 minus 2 is 0. Doesn't this go down to just 1?
Yes.
Because anything to the 0 power is 1. This is y to the 4th, and this is z to the 3rd. So this is the simplified version of that.
So the x just goes.
It does. And you really could have just canceled it out if they match perfectly top and bottom, right?
All right, big facts.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Division means subtraction. That's just the rule for variables with exponents. So if you had x to the a over x to the b, that's the same thing as x to the a minus b, no matter what the numbers are. 36, what's your first step?
Distribute.
Distribute what?
Negative.
-1, right? Minus sign. Do y'all see that this is not a FOIL problem? This is just to combine alike terms since there's a minus in between. It's not like FOIL or do your rectangle or whatever. So we're going to rewrite it without parentheses. So I have y squared plus 2y minus 3 minus 4y squared plus 5y plus 2. So all I've done is change all the signs. Okay? Did I change them all? Am I okay?
Yes.
So then it's just combine like terms. We have y squared minus 4y squared. So that's going to be negative 3y squared. Then I have positive 2y that can go with positive 5y. So I'm at plus 7y. And then I have negative 3 that can go with positive 2. So that's minus 1.
Oh, we don't have to solve it.
That's it. Questions? Okay, number 37, we need to solve it. So we need number answers, not just factors, but we have to factor it to solve it. Okay, so what do you want to do on that one?
4 and
X
I got a
plus
2 first.
Very good. Divide by 2 before you do anything. So we're going to say 2 times x squared minus 3x minus 4 equals 0. Now factor what's left over inside of the parentheses.
Yes, it's 4 and 1.
So we have x, I'm hearing minus 4 and x plus 1.
Yeah, 4 and -1.
Okay, so you really have 3 things going on here. You have 2 equals 0, which is just kind of invalid, don't need it. You have x minus 4 equals 0, which gives us x equals 4. And then you have x plus 1 equals 0, which gives us x is negative 1. So 4 and negative 1 would be our correct solutions. This 2 equals 0 thing just is invalid. I feel like we're missing something on number 38. Are we good?
No, we are missing something. Yeah. No, but you can cross out the 3 y's.
But is that supposed to be 0? Like, what's
We'll
going
make a
on
1
there?
equalize 0.
Oh man.
Let me go check on that. Let's fix it. Okay. So what happened was this 4 got pushed to the next line. It's supposed to be here, and there's not supposed to be a 4 there. That's how it's really going to look on your real test. So our equations are 3x plus 3y equals 4, and x minus 3y equals 1. So we can do elimination and just cancel out the 3y and minus 3y.
Yeah.
So 3x plus x is 4x. 4 plus 1 is 5. So x is equal to 5/4. And we're done because it just asked for the x coordinate. I agree. I like elimination best. But hey, any of it would work. Do you remember the formula for slope? So m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So always the difference in your y's over the difference in your x. Rise over run. Okay. So y2 minus y1 would be 3 minus 7. x2 minus x1 would be 1 minus 4. So I have negative 4 on the top, and I have negative 3 on the bottom. So the correct answer is 4/3. Negative over negative becomes positive. What's perpendicular to that? Not 3/4, negative 3/4, because we changed the sign and we flipped it. It doesn't have that, but just so we know. Okay, find the slope in the y-intercept of the line whose equation is y equals 3/2 x plus 4. So what's the slope? 3 over 2. And what's the y-intercept? They might say 0, 4, or they might just say 4, right? So you just pull the parts out of the equation. Whatever's in front of the x is your slope. Whatever the number by itself is called the constant is your y-intercept. We like that question, right?
So on the test, is number 40 going to be like?
Yes.
I don't understand that.
Find the equation of the line containing the point -3, 5, and has a slope of 4, having slope 4. How would we do this? It is not 4x plus 5, because in order for our y-intercept to be 5, wouldn't our x have to be 0 there? You with me? Okay. So what you want to do is you want to remember the formula, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Does this sound familiar?
Yes.
I have an easier way if you don't want to remember this. You want me to do it easier way? Hey, I know you know this one. What's the other equation? Y equals mx plus b. And we need to solve for b, because as I was just saying, it can't be 5 because x is not 0 there. But isn't this an x, and isn't this a y, and isn't this an m? So we can just say 5 equals 4 times -3 and solve that for b. And then we'll have everything we need. So we have 5 equals -12 plus b. So we're going to add 12 to both sides. And so we have 17 equals b. So the equation would be y equals 4x plus 17. If you don't want to have to remember that other formula.
Solve.
42, solve 4x plus 5 less than or equal to 3 plus 6x.
Times 4x.
What's the deal with the inequality? Do y'all remember that it's just like equal, but there's one little trick?
X is greater than or equal to 2.
If you multiply or divide by what?
Negative.
A negative, then you flip the alligator mouth.
Wait, what the?
If you multiply or divide by negative, that's the only way you treat it any different from equal to. Okay? So if you keep things positive, then you don't have to even worry about that. So I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. So I have 5 is less than or equal to 3 plus 2x. Subtract 3 from both sides. So 2 is less than or equal to 2x. Divide by positive 2. So I just say 1 is less than or equal to x. So if I read it backwards, it's x is greater than or equal to 1. Do you get that?
Yes.
So if you keep it positive, you don't have to worry about flipping the thing. Draw a graph that represents the solution of absolute value of 2x plus 3 greater than or equal to 1.
I'm good on that. Good.
Okay, we have to solve it, and then the answer choices are going to be number lines, okay? So 2x plus 3 is greater than or equal to 1. We're going to solve that. So subtract 3 from both sides. So 2x is greater than or equal to -2. Divide both sides by 2. So x is greater than or equal to -1. The number line, though, is going to have 2 different values. Where do you think they're getting that other value from? Anybody remember absolute value?
Oh.
Opposite sign. So you also have to do 2x plus 3 with -1. Okay? So we're going to subtract 3. So I have 2x greater than or equal to -4. Divide by 2. So x is greater than or equal to -2. So we have -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, whatever. They're going to put closed dots on -1 and -2. By closed dot, I mean it's going to be colored in. It's not going to be an open white dot. How do you know if it's a closed dot versus it's an open dot?
The arrow thingy.
If it has the bar under it, right? The equal to bar. So since they're both equal to, it's going to be that. I have it's greater than -1, but I also have that it's greater than -2. I feel like we need to try some values and see where these lines are going. I may have the sign wrong. So greater than -1 would definitely go this way. But let's try 0 and see if it works. So what's 2 times 0?
0.
And what's 0 plus 3?
3.
An absolute value of 3 is 3, and that is greater than or equal to 1. So I'm okay with that. Let's try like -3 down here and see if I have this sign the wrong direction, because that says greater than -2. Let's see if it's supposed to be less than -2. So if I tried -3, I would get 2 times -3 is what? -6 plus 3?
Yeah, it's supposed to be the other way.
That would be, let's see, -6 plus 3 is -3. The absolute value of -3 is 3. So I feel like it's supposed to be this way. So I'm remembering, it's been a while since I've taught the Algebra 2 stuff as well. Hold on. I'm remembering that when you set it equal to the opposite sign, you also flip the inequality. And I didn't do that. I hesitated, and I knew I should have done that. So let me go back up here. When we solve it, so we're going to do 2x plus 3. When we switch it to -1, we flip around the sign, and then we would have been okay. Sorry about that. Okay, and if you tried like -1.5, it wouldn't satisfy the equation. It actually wouldn't be greater than before you go to 1. Yeah, ready for 44?
Yep.
Okay, the solutions to x squared plus 2x minus 12 equals -12 are what?
Move the negative 12.
So we actually want to add 12 to both sides to get it set equal to 0. So we have x squared plus 2x plus 0 equals 0.
What?
Don't the 12s cancel out on both sides? So now what? Can we factor out an x? And if we factor out an x, what are we left with? Okay, so I have two pieces here. I have x equals 0, but then I also have x plus 2 equals 0. So that gives us x equals -2 because you would subtract 2 from both sides. Okay, and so we have x equals 0 as a solution and x equals -2 as a solution.
Yes. So easy.
If I can get 100.
It's 50 multiple choice questions, and I promise not to have any that say show your work.
Okay.
You might be okay. All right, move on. Number 45. Simplify x squared minus 5x over x squared minus 25. What would you do?
Well, x squared plus 5.
That's all the x squares.
Oh, you can't do that. Don't kill me. Don't kill me.
You got
X
Expand
minus
it.
5, X plus 5.
Okay, hold on. Mikkel's saying to put x plus 5 and x minus 5 on the bottom.
Yep, like that.
What can we do to the top? Factor out an x on the top. If you take an x out of the top, what's left over?
X plus 5 or x minus 5.
Okay, the whole chunk can cancel out. You can't just x out pieces. You got to be careful of that. Okay, so the entire chunk can cancel out, and so the answer would be x over x plus 5. Some of you are going to go crazy on me and cancel those x's out. You can't, because the x on top would have to have a plus 5 on it with it. So don't be canceling those x's out. That would be the simplified answer.
Yeah, you would.
No, you.
Oh my gosh. It's all. It's a B.
What?
Easy. It's definitely
C and C. All right.
yeah.
That's easy.
Okay, so what did you just say about them all being parallel? Do you think that A is parallel?
Probably.
Why?
They have the same slope.
Okay, what are their slopes?
-3.
Okay, since the -3s are the same, they are parallel. Let's look at B. Do you think they're parallel?
Oh, I can see.
One of them
Yeah,
has a
yep,
slope of
yep,
5,
yep.
and one of them has a
Nope,
slope of
I-
10.
no,
Do you think they're perpendicular?
no.
So this is one that we just call neither. It's neither parallel nor perpendicular because the slopes don't match, and they're not opposite sign reciprocals because one's 5 and one's 10. On C, wouldn't we have to divide by that 2 before we talk about it?
It's the same thing.
So it's y equals 2x minus 8. So this is just one where it's right on top of each other, like it's the same line. So that's not going to be parallel or perpendicular, it's the same line.
Same, and then perpendicular, and then
So y equals 9, what would this look like? Okay, so it would be on the y-axis 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It would be a horizontal line going through 9. And what would x equals 5 look like? A vertical straight line though, right? So aren't those perpendicular?
yes.
And then E, you said it's parallel? What does y equals x look like?
Straight perfect line.
It's a diagonal line though. Y equals x is the diagonal line. It's going like this. It has to go through the origin. So imagine I went through the origin. This is y equals x.
Yes.
Okay, but y equals 3.
Equal negative.
I'm sorry, I drew all those. I didn't mean to do that. This is y equals 3. So you're looking at this one with this one, so again, it's neither. They do intersect, but they don't intersect in a special way.
Right. So,
Everybody okay with that? Deciding which ones are parallel, which ones are perpendicular?
No.
47. Basically, it's asking where does this equation cross the y-axis? How would we figure that out? We need the y-intercept, right? It's not number 48, guys. It's just the equation.
-3.
We're so close to being finished. Can y'all just finish this out with me? You have to get it in the form y equals mx plus b, and whatever b is, that's your y-intercept. So we want to subtract x from both sides. So I have negative 4y equals negative x plus 8. Then I want to divide everything by negative 4. Every single piece gets divided by negative 4. So y equals 1/4 x minus 2. So it crosses the y-axis at negative 2. If it had asked you what is the slope, what would you say? No. 1/4. 1/4. So you have to have it in the form y equals mx plus b before you can find the slope and y-intercept. Cannot be in standard form. This is called standard form. We want it in slope-intercept form. Okay, which equation is graphed to the right? So he's pointing out that the b is -3. I think he's trying to tell us. So in y equals mx plus b, he's saying that we know that the it's not plus. It's going to be -3 on the end. Do we agree? Because it's a -3. And then you just find 2 points that appear to be like in a rectangle, or what do you call it, on a corner. So we're going to go up 2 over 1.
So 2x.
So the equation would be 2x minus 3. Y equals 2x minus 3.
Good job.
Distribute.
Okay, so distribute the 2. It's not even asking us to do it. It's just asking what is the first step. So you would say distribute the 2.
Boy is mowing a rectangular lawn.
So draw your rectangle so you can picture it. That's a really not to scale.
He's hilarious.
And he's cut all of it except 2015.
Who's dead?
What fractional part remains? If you draw it well, wouldn't you be able to just say it's 1/4? Because it's saying what fractional part is this? Do y'all see that that is 1/4 of it? So I don't even feel like you have to find the areas if you draw the picture well. And they gave you really nice answers. So test on Friday, those 50 questions.
You better study up for that one.
Wait, the test is already